Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome in. It is Thursday, almost the middle of the month already. The first month of 2021. We're already halfway done. How crazy is that, Jason?
I mean, nothing surprises me anymore. I've lost all sort of conception of time, the dates, anything. It just feels like, with everything going on, that every day is like the same day.
Right. And if you guys are plugged in right now on Twitter through Periscope, I would personally recommend just go over to YouTube, type in 49ers Gold Mine. We have a channel name change. As you guys see, the channel name is not Tapped in Sports by Leo Luna anymore. We had a growth in our personal criterias with what we're doing in the media to where now we partnered up with a bunch of wonderful people. We got our 49ers Gold Mine website now online. Jason had a terrific article, and that kind of led me into wanting to talk about DBs. Also, if you're watching on Facebook and you're wondering, what the hell, this is not Javi and Matt. I thought this was a Fourth and Gold Facebook page. Well, it's actually 49ers Gold Mine. We're in the middle of that transition on there for that Facebook page as well. So let's go ahead and get into it. As far as we're going to make cases on which unrestricted DB the 49ers should try and bring back, or why they shouldn't bring them back. If Jason, you're not completely sold on a guy, I don't want you to have to make a case. Tell me your honest thoughts on it. You could go ahead and make a case for in case of why not. That's totally up to you. I just want you to be completely organic, nothing artificial, as you guys know how we do it here. And we're going to kick it off with the guy you wrote this article about. I think it was the third or second article ever to be posted.
The third, yeah.
The third ever article in the history of 49ers Gold Mine's youth. Should the 49ers go ahead and bring back Jason Verrett? I feel like you're leaning a certain way on this.
Yeah, I mean, when you end your article with he is the closest thing to Trent Williams as far as on the priority list, I think that lets you know the urgency that I think that the 49ers need to move when it comes to locking up Jason Verrett. Mm-hmm. When I was doing the research for the article, right, everybody understands the injury past, right? But I think until you actually break down how these injuries happen, when they happen, Jason Verrett's been through like even worse than whatever you believe. Like if you believe that he worked his way back from injuries, okay, now go back and look and read and see torn ACL, torn labrum, Achilles tear, literally, and this is year after year. First day of training camp 1 year. For Jason Verrett to even fight his way onto the field this year was nothing short of a mental miracle. Less than medical, because those tendons can be repaired and fixed and things like that. That's not like the Alex Smith. Alex Smith almost died, But for Jason Verrett to even be on the field just playing is a miracle in itself, let alone that the fact the guy played his ass off this year. I mean, when I was going back and looking, his first 4 weeks, he gave up in coverage single-digit passing yards, like receiving yards, I mean. Insane. 9, 9, 9, and like 6. Insane. He only gave up 60 yards, more than 60 yards one time, and that the Buffalo game, I'm really gonna take the blame away from him there, because the Bucks were in their the Bills were in their bag.
Right.
They were just the scheme seemed off. They didn't really have an answer, so that wasn't on Verrett, right?
Right.
But 60 yards only one time, and there was that one game on top of one time that he only hit 60. But Jason Verrett was lights out, and then towards the end of the year, when he so it's funny, right? Week 1. DeAndre Hopkins, what is it? 11 catches, 153 touchdowns, something like that. 14 catches, something like that.
Yeah, I think it was 14 for 153 and a touchdown.
Yeah. Didn't happen that time when Jason Verrett was actually on him, because remember, Jason Verrett wasn't active, right? So
correct.
Now you said that we can make the case for and against, and I want to make some points about some things that do concern me. And
okay.
This has to be concern. This has to be the concern for any 49er fan out there when it's talking about bringing back Jason Verrett, right? I just made the case where I told you that Trent Williams is 1 and Jason Verrett's number 2. Here's the thing: was this year? I mean, is it last year or this year, Leo? You tell me. If it's
this season,
All right. So this season that just passed, is this the outlier or is this the norm that we can expect in terms of health? Right? I hate the label of injury prone, right? But it is something that you have to keep in mind, right? So what happens if the 49ers say, you know what, here's the bag, and unfortunately we see the same thing that happened before, right? That's a real concern. I don't think that'll happen, but that is something that you have to keep in mind, right?
Right.
Was this past year the new norm, or was it the exception to the rule, basically for the years that Verrett was injured? So that's a concern for sure, and also price. That's the thing as well too, right? Like, I believe that Jason Verrett has played himself into a considerable market. There's going to be several teams that will entertain the idea of bringing him in for his services. So there's going to be a market for it. Absolutely. So it's about price. The negatives are going to be price, depending on what it lands on. And was last season really the norm, or is that actually the exception?
I get some hope when I see Jimmy Ward last the entire season, basically back-to-back seasons. Because before that, Jimmy Ward, he obviously didn't have the amount of injuries Jason Verrett had. It wasn't that severe, but there were issues with Jimmy Ward being active on Sundays. And we look back last year. I believe I had those same concerns with Jimmy Ward when talking about an extension as I am having with Jason Verrett. One thing that does give me confidence is it's quite comical, is that Jason Verrett says the tools that they have there, the rehab, the facility, that's what he loves about the 49ers so much, because that's what built his confidence in being out there active on Sundays. It wasn't necessarily the coaching staff telling him, hey, you can do it, kid. Like, go get him. It wasn't necessarily that. So that's what I'm going to say. I do get some confidence that 2020 wasn't just an outlier and then they're going to sign Jason Verrett on a 3-year deal and we see him for 10 games. I doubt that. Do I think he could play all 16 for 3 straight years? Probably not. Not many players do that aren't quarterbacks. So he will, I would think, he will miss a start here, a start there. But to say he's going to miss a stretch of 6 games at one given season, or he's going to play 10 games in one given season, I don't think that's necessarily true when it comes to Verrett, because when your body is able to put the body of work that he just put together, that tells me he's healthy. And the footwork that he's shown, it's fantastic. I wouldn't say it's the San Diego Chargers version of Jason Verrett when he was an all-pro corner, but his footwork is still Pro Bowl level corner stuff.
Yeah.
Like he's took a step back, but it's just that he was so up here, he's allowed to take a step back and still be one of the top 15 corners in the league. And if you have an opportunity to bring in a guy like Jason Verrett when active on Sundays, top 10 corner in the NFL, you have to exercise the resources to go ahead and bring him back. Because the last thing that you want to do as a franchise is have him sign somewhere else. Say Saleh takes this Chargers job. Jason Verrett's very familiar with the Chargers. He still trains a lot with those guys in the offseason. Very close with Keenan Allen. He could very well end up right back with the Chargers.
Yeah.
And play under Saleh's scheme again. And then if Jason Verrett goes and does that, and he balls out, and he makes a Pro Bowl, say, 1 out of those 3 years, and he puts together 2 very fine seasons, maybe 1 year is, say, he plays 10 games 1 year. Just,
right.
For context. I think the 49ers will look at themselves and basically kick themselves in the behind, because now you lost a potential top 10 corner in the NFL, and you came into this season with Emmanuel Mosley, who they basically have the rights to, and that's about it. Or Harris, if you want to consider him a 53-man roster guy. I think that's still up for debate,
Mm-hmm.
but I think you got to exercise the resources. Given the track record, what I've seen this season, the man's healthy.
No. What I would say too, I mean, because you don't have to convince me. I'm saying that he's definitely a sign. I just wanted to be, for argument's sake, throwing that out. So, I agree with everything that you said there. The point that I want to go back to that you made was, you said that he took a step back, athletically, and he did, right? But what I became impressed with when I watched this film is that his football IQ is through the roof. He's basically running routes with guys, and that's how you have to win. Richard Sherman continues, up until this year, continue to dominate because of his smarts. It's less about that. When you understand the intricacies of route running and you understand what you're seeing because you watch film and you understand the concepts they're throwing at you,
right?
For instance, the Rams interception, right? That's a 3-man stack on the left side where with 3 different releases, and they're all in man, so you have to watch your guy. It's there to cause confusion. Not only was Jason Verrett not confused, stayed on his man, he peeled off of his man and saw the concept that they were running, and he ripped down the interception. That is what really impressed me, honestly. When you see the IQ and then, the drive, right? So, it seems like a simple play, right? In the Giants game, his first game, right? They run a screen to Golden Tate. Okay, Jason Verrett makes a tackle for a 1-yard loss. Well, that doesn't seem flashy. But what I was impressed with was this is a guy who hasn't played in how long? He bails back in coverage, notices, immediately what the screen is, and drives on the football, and Golden Tate never had a shot to move. That implies to me that a guy is fully healthy in his mind and has his confidence back and is just playing ball. And that's more what you were saying, and I agree with you 100%.
Yeah, and I also agree with Steph's comment here is you give him a contract with incentives and escalators because I think other teams will. I don't think teams are necessarily going to give him flat-out guarantee contracts. Maybe Trent Baalke, but
I was going to say conventional wisdom would say that, but then there's always those deals that get thrown out, and you find out they're signed, and you were like, "What?"
Yeah, like that's fair. That's fair. I'm gonna say he does have an incentive-based contract. I don't think it's gonna be nothing extreme. It could be even Richard Sherman's. I think it's not going to be anything that extreme where Jason Verrett has to reach the Pro Bowl to reach an incentive. I think his incentives will basically be active game day rosters. If he's available on Sundays, well, he's getting what, $300,000 each Sunday that he's available for. So I think, yeah, I'll be active. Give me 22. I'll be out there for you. We could take it 50-50.
Dude, you're limping around. I'm ready to go, coach. Let's do it. I'm sorry.
Meat off the bone. Let's do it.
Exactly. Let's do it, coach. I'm out here for the team.
Yeah. So, what's we made the case for Verrett. Mm-hmm. What would be your ceiling? Like
for the money annually?
Yeah, we could go annually or however you want to. What your ceiling is, it could be total guarantee. Mm-hmm. That may be what you consider a ceiling. You may not look at it as APY. Years. What would be your ceiling on what you would offer Jason Verrett?
I don't know much about negotiation, right? So this is just going to be me off the top of my head. This might be baseless. This may sound really stupid, but I would like to live in the $5.5 to $7 million range, somewhere like that annually. With most of that trying to be those incentives that you said, those game day bonuses and things like that. Because then you don't waste any money on it, right? Like you basically are going to play to pay, but. Will Jason Verrett take that, right? Like it sounds good to tell that, and I hate it because I'm so pro player that I always want a player to get the bag. It doesn't matter, if whether it's for my team or not, because I understand these guys are killing themselves to play this game, so they deserve to be paid handsomely, So that's I'm always going to be on the side of that. But if you're asking me, and again, it could be baseless, I want to live in that $5.5 to $7 million range, maybe a 2-year deal, just to see, and I'm sure that. The way that this organization negotiates their contracts, there'll be outs in the contract after the first year. You can give the guaranteed money early, and then the second year can be, if it's a wash, it's a wash. And that's pretty much what they've shown with nearly everybody that they brought in.
Okay. Mariah says she'll DM you later. She has a couple questions, but you're a busy man, which is very fair.
Am I?
Kinda.
Nah, I'm just sitting here. The basketball game's up on the TV. Sitting here talking football, bro.
So I would say my ceiling for Jason Verrett is I'm more lukewarm when it comes to his injuries. I'm gonna go with 9. 9 is going to be my ceiling for him. If now all this is fluid, even your offer, fluid. Market could change things to where, say, if somebody wants to offer him 10 and Jason Verrett's willing to sign with 9.5, then yeah, I'll change my ceiling gladly to 9.5 APY. So, but as of right now, without hearing any type of negotiation numbers, without hearing any type of market numbers, I would say my ceiling with Jason Verrett is about 9. I know Prague loves to just make that first year very low and then gradually go up from there. I'm not going to want to do that so much with Jason Verrett, because then you do that with every single player. Your contracts, they just become too high and you have to let go of a lot of people at one time. So if 9 million per year, I'll push for 2. If he wants 3, I'll have to think about it if I was in that position, because he is getting up there in age, and his body does deteriorate at a certain time. But I guess if I wouldn't let 3-year deal kind of break me on that. Now if he wants 4, I'm gonna have to, dude, you're coming down from a 9 APY.
Yeah, that has to happen. You have to spread it out that way. Yeah. And you also have to front load it, because the reason that I like front loading it is because if, like, what if injuries hit early, then you know what you can do later on. But if you backload it, and they're healthy the years that they're not getting paid, and then they're hurt, like it's a. I mean, I guess it's a risk either way. So I mean, I'll take that back, I guess.
Yeah. So 9 million. I'm not sure if that's out. If the number 10 highest paid corner is making that much, but I don't think with Jason Verrett. I think his situation's a little different than Trent Williams, where Trent Williams trying to get the highest paid dollar. Given what Jason Verrett has been through, you would figure he wants to get paid out. Well, dude's already made first round money, and he seems like he just wants to be in a good situation, mentally in a good situation, not just go get a bag and then that place is a complete shit show.
Like, get a bag and go to Detroit and just be there. Like,
yeah,
that team,
yeah, and then the narrative you built on your career this past year, re-evolving yourself into what your Chargers day were. I think he wants to stay there mentally. I get that vibe compared to Trent Williams, where he just wants a bag and then another bag.
Mm-hmm.
Now the comments are probably going to be pretty fun on this next one. And it's going to be the case to resign Richard Sherman, or, like I said, it could be not to re-sign him, if that's the case you want to make.
I want to make sure that I'm clear in what I'm saying here. I am not in any way disrespecting Richard Sherman with what I'm about to say here.
Bring it. Bring it.
No. And it just, what, at this point, what you can bring in as far as depth at O-line, at pass rush, at linebacker, far exceeds probably what Richard Sherman offers his team at this stage in his career. This stage in his career, he would have to literally come back for no guaranteed money with an entire incentive-based, contract. I like that idea, because then he's around coaching guys up, because he's one of the smartest players I've ever watched play football. That's great, but he's also going to have to change positions. The thing is We saw Sherman a little bit further off of the line of scrimmage. I wouldn't necessarily call it safety. It looked like it because he was playing so far. What I
Mm-hmm.
saw was a person who was afraid of getting beat over the top. Okay, so he's bailing and he got hit with a lot of comeback routes. If I saw that, everyone else saw that. So there's things that are good about Richard Sherman coming back, right? You know,
Yeah.
continuity, coach on the field, basically, right? But
Mm-hmm.
schematically, the things that you can do are limited with him, right? You know, and that's what Verrett offered Sherman, that Sherman never did. The man-to-man aspect of straight up, like, you know, because Verrett never traveled, but whoever was on his side, it was press man cover, and that was pretty much what they ran with him a lot. Like this, it was crazy the transition from cover three to like straight up man. It was like across the first few weeks, and then it just became apparent. Like so much more quarters, so much more man looks all over the place. So the thing is that while I love Sherman, I love what he's done for this team. I love what he brings to this team schematically and the timing and the way that his age is working, and he wants to get paid one more time. Once you listen to his comments, he was pretty much out of the door, understanding that he's ready to go and move on. And for me, I think it's a little bit of what he was saying was kind of just letting it be known that I'm leaving because I understand that they have cap issues. I'm not leaving because I'm not worthy here. So someone
Right.
will line up to pay him. And you know what? If I'm Sherman, go somewhere where you can get a bag and teach some kids, and you know what, and ride off into the sunset, bro. I just don't think it's gonna be here.
Man, like it's hard for me to argue your statement on that. While I respect what Sherman has done in his career as a cornerback, yeah, his Seattle days, I hate that. I hate playing against him when he was in his prime days in Seattle. And I was one of the first guys when he became available on the market. I said, sign him. I've seen bad cornerback play for a long time on this team. I We had Dante Johnson starting at corner the year before. I, I said sign him. This year, it's different. I don't want to see a contract negotiation brought up, and I don't believe there is going to be that. I personally haven't checked in on it because I don't see it as a scenario that's going to happen. And like you said, just having that flexibility of not just being relied on to we're running cover 3 and we're running cover 3 only, or we're running quarters only, to where we could play some man. Yes, I'm down. You're telling me that we could send Fred Warner on a blitz with Nick Bosa, Kerry Hyder, as I cross my fingers on that, and rush 5 guys and play man to make it completely more difficult for the quarterback. Yeah, let's do it. I don't want to be strictly a zone team. I don't 50-50. I need to see who's on the team next year to say I want to run 50-50 because you got to, game plan based on your personnel and what you have on the field. And if Richard Sherman is one of those guys on the field, you're running a bunch of soft zone. And this is the thing is he's not even pressing anymore. That's what I enjoyed about his game when he was at the peak of his career, is seeing him play press zone. Now he is strictly just 9 yards off the ball. I'm not going to let you beat me deep. I'll give you the underneath routes. And there's nothing more frustrating than seeing a comeback route or an out route at 7 yards on a 3rd and 7 because Richard Sherman's playing 9 yards off and then he backpedals for 3 and then he's not able to close on the route that fast. Like, I'm done. I'm overseeing that. He's had a fantastic career, but the time's up. Like
One
it.
more. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead, bro. I didn't mean to cut you off.
I was going to say it's in the basketball world. I don't know if you guys saw my last stream. I was wearing Dallas Maverick stuff, but there was a point where I was like, okay, Dirk's done. He should probably just retire before he tarnishes his his legacy, because people are going to see the last 5 years and just think about his play the last 5 years and think about his entire career, and that's where Sherman could be if he continues with the 49ers, because this year was not good. last year he did benefit from a pass rush. While I do think he did play pretty well, it wasn't 100% on the pass rush. Like, obviously, his player IQ helped out on that. But to say the pass rush is ever going to be like 2019 and 2021, I'm not going to stick to that like it's glue. And I'll just rather get a guy that I can trust more to mix up coverages.
Absolutely. And one more thing that I want to say about Sherman, because I agree with you 100%. Another thing that I have to say about Sherman is it's not going to shock me if next year he plays really well, because this year he's still hurt. Trying to play when he was out there, he was trying to play through the Achilles thing. You could tell, because I'm going to stop calling it the calf. If it was the calf, then they would have just left it alone, but or they would have just tried to push harder. But because it's the Achilles, he's out there on one leg, bailing, making sure that he's not, getting beat over the top. It wouldn't surprise me that wherever he goes next year, all of a sudden we're here back talking like, look at Richard Sherman, he's actually playing well, because while all those things are true that we talked about, as far as what he limits, he's still super smart. And if he's fully healthy, I still might bank on that over somebody who's way more talented but doesn't have the smarts to get it done.
Yeah, that's fair. Honestly, I could see us talking about Sherman saying, man, he's having a hell of a year. Because I think you are right. I think it was his Achilles acting up. And he wasn't particularly healthy this year. I personally think if he was healthy, he would have been okay.
Yeah.
He wouldn't have been as bad. Right. He would have been better than this. But I don't think it would have been worth me saying, yeah, let's go spend another $10 million a year on him. Now,
100% agree.
Give me Verrett.
100% agree.
So now we're going to see someone who we had hopes for win in Shanahan's doghouse, win in the fans' doghouse. Back to he got on the field and seemed like he got out of Shanahan's doghouse, and Dante Pettis is sitting there like, yo, like, how? Like, dude, what? Excuse me? I literally got cut before I got out of the Shanahan doghouse. Right. So Pettis is still trying to figure that out, and Kello played very well. And that last touchdown to Seattle, like, dude was covering, what's his name, on a drag route across the entire field. Lockett,
that's play design.
Like, stop it.
Yeah.
For saying that's here is a Kello. Like,
nah, you can't.
I am the last person you'll see me as an Kello stan. And even I know, like, that has a high success rate no matter what corner you're playing against. Kendrick Bourne caught 2 touchdowns on Marcus Lattimore in New Orleans in 2019. Like, chill. He gave up 1 touchdown on a drag route to Lockett, who's a fantastic player.
It was just good play design, man. To say that that's on Kello, that for me, anybody who was hopping out like, oh, look at Kello giving that touchdown up, that's just you hoping that he gave up that touchdown so you can hate on him, honestly, at that point. Because even like you said, you don't even have to be a fan of his to understand the route concept and understand how hard it is to stop that, especially when you've got a quarterback who actually can put the ball where it needs to be, out in front of the receiver, man. Come on, man.
Yeah, so, yeah, great pass on top of it. Where are you at on the Kello?
I would love to see the kid come back. It's all there, right? Like, it's never been a discussion about the physical tools. He profiles as exactly what, at the time, because we don't know who the defensive coordinator is, but what this defensive coordinator, Robert Saleh, really wanted, right? He wanted to duplicate Richard Sherman, long, lanky, right? Get your arms on him, tall guy, right? Has all the skills, right? We see it in flashes. First 4 weeks of 2019, man. He had a pick 6 in week 1. And I don't know if anybody remembers, in week 2, he nearly had another pick 6. So I went back and I watched, and there's a play where Jaquiski Tartt comes down in the box and he calls a checkout, and you can look at him like talking to Spoon. And he told him before the game that he was going to be doing that. So he undercuts the route, and it's right there. Another pick 6, he just drops it, right? So Think about this, right? The thing is always confidence with a Kello, right? You give him back-to-back pick 6s, and he doesn't get injured, who knows where his season goes, right? The thing is it's all up here. It's mental, right? At the end of plays, he loses the ball, and he's in good position. It's just sometimes he doesn't turn his head. What he did these last 4 weeks was super impressive for this. Everybody else that has gone into Kyle Shanahan's doghouse is either 1, folded, or 2, just come straight up rebelled, right? Like folded it
Mm-hmm.
up and just said, I don't care. Like Pettis is like, I'm good. I don't care. This coach doesn't like me anymore. I'm not doing this. Spoon fought back, and he played. It's for him to play well and to break through that barrier, that mental barrier of being the guy that nobody wanted, was inactive on game days. That there's something that needs to be said about that. So you want the good vibes to carry across onto the field, right? The guy goes about his business the right way, prepares the right way. It's just little things that he needs to fix. The real question for me is not if he should be back, because it's yes. The question becomes for how much, and I think that's the real concern.
Yeah, that's going to be the real concern for me as well. Like I said, I've never. Well, I enjoyed Akilo early on into his career, and then I kind of lost confidence in him because he lost confidence in himself. I've talked to players that shared that same 49ers practice field with Akilo, and they said he is the most athletic cornerback on the roster, that he's more of a freak athletically than Richard Sherman, and Richard Sherman's known for that. Like, he's bigger than Richard Sherman, and it just worked out so well for that scheme, but they could not figure out why he couldn't put it together. And this coming from guys who share the same practice field with him. And when we seen him play in these final stretches here, he was confident. What did he do to DK Metcalf? I love that, the whole whatever that was.
Yeah, where he started flexing on him in that game. See, but that's good, man. You have to play like that.
Exactly, and I do have concerns if he could continue that confidence for X amount of years, or if he could. For me, it's not even years. Actually, it's games. Can he continue that confidence after 2 games?
Look,
after 3 games, after 4 games, like, especially when he gives up a touchdown, can he continue that confidence?
Right. And we're not the only ones who think this, right? Like, there's coaches out there that we know, right? Like Joe Woods would love to get his hands back on Ahkello Witherspoon, right? Yep. Joe Woods was here last year. He's in Cleveland, right? If I'm not mistaken, right?
Correct. So he's the DC, Mahomes, right? Revenge game. Yeah, he's the DC revenge on Mahomes.
So don't be surprised if someone else gives Ahkello a shot, just because of all of those things that we listed as far as the physical tools, man. Like, people aren't going to scrap really good athletes immediately. They're always going to give a really good athlete a shot. Kevin White's still on his roster because he's a really good athlete. Mm-hmm. That's how it is. You give those guys shots, and you continue to see if you can tap into that potential. And I'm sure that there's 5, 10, maybe even 15 coaches out there that would love to get their hands on him and try to cultivate that.
Well, I'm going to say the same thing with the Chargers. If it's not Jason Verrett, this is if obviously Saleh lands the job there. I think it's a different scenario. I believe the Jets were in negotiations with Saleh, and I think Saleh's going to be easier to negotiate with if it's the Chargers, just because that roster is a whole lot better and they have an answer at quarterback. And so I would say if he goes to the Chargers, you could see Ahkello go south, stay in California. That's about less than a 2-hour flight back home, rather than going across country. What's real big is you're in the same time zone. How is that important? Well, there's certain times through the day I'm at 9 o'clock p.m. and I can't really send Jason a message because he's at midnight. Or
wait, didn't you ask me last night if I ever sleep?
Yeah, but I'll for context, they're gonna be sleeping. You don't sleep, and and so like that, you take that important for someone that's so big into his family. Jamar Taylor is rumored to said Spoon will not come back anyways. I know Jamar Taylor personally, and so
you haven't heard that.
I haven't heard that because I haven't asked him about Ahkello. I know some things with myself that I know about Ahkello. I think he's opened after that final stretch of the season there. I think the door has opened for Ahkello to come back to the 49ers. If Shanahan continued not to play him in those final stretches of games, I think he would have definitely been out the door, pissed off, and have zero negotiations with the 49ers. But the fact that he let him play it out and let him play for another contract, you respect that as a player. And whoever's in his ear respects that as well. Because instead of signing a minimum deal, now Ahkello could go out there and get $3 million per year, $4 million per year. So that's why you're gonna, that's why that door's back open. But do I think it's more unlikely than likely? Yes, I certainly do believe it's more unlikely than likely at this point.
Yep, I agree with you. I'm lock and step with you, bro.
Ask Jamar what Pettis did to Kyle. See,
You
the
know what
thing
he
is
did to
with
Kyle.
Jamar is just such a positive dude. You saw Nick Mullins choke up when Jamar got hurt. He's such a positive. He ain't gonna just rip anybody like that and say Pettis is this or Pettis is that. He respects everybody in the NFL.
Fair.
Yeah, it just he understands how difficult it is, and he understands as a player how trash they get over one play.
He's humble about it. Yeah, it's true. He's humble about it.
Yeah. So, the next player we're gonna move on to is K1. What do you believe should be the case with K1? I know where I personally stand, but I'll let you kick it off.
I'm with bringing him back, man. It's crazy, right? So the 49ers still had a top 5 defense, top 6, is it something like that? Or were they 5th or 6th or something like that where they ended up? I know they were top 10.
Who, the 49ers?
The 49ers, yeah.
Yeah, they were 5.
With all the injuries, they were 5.
Mm-hmm.
Did you see the way K'Wan Williams was balling at the end of the season when he was back? Like he, didn't take any business decisions. The man was carted off. The man was carted off in Arizona and came back and sacked the quarterback. Mm-hmm. What he brings as far as his coverage, that nickel blitz, all of those things, and his age, I think factor into a good situation. It's like a perfect storm for the 49ers as far as bringing him back. Because I think he has to understand what 31, 32 is or something. Is he 30, 31, 32, something? He's in that 30 range, right?
30. Mm-hmm.
Right. Again, winning culture, you have your spot here. You know where you're going to be. You know where you're going to be on the field all the time. The 49ers use you all the time, so it's not even going to be a matter of usage. Like, you're not going to sign a deal somewhere where they don't use nickel corners because of the defenses they run. So I think that K1 is a top 5 priority to bring back, just because of what he offers as far as like his toughness. And as far as, man, he was insane those last few weeks. I think that kind of flew under the radar because we were so, oh my God, look at Spoon, especially that interception against Arizona, right? That kind of with the cherry on top where we were just like, goodness gracious, look at Spoon. But K1 was out there, making a huge difference. So yeah, I gotta say to bring him back.
Yeah. I'm gonna stick with that too. Is the dude was fantastic out there when he came back from his injuries, and then he came in and got a sack immediately. And I told myself, man, I miss K1. Like, he's just such a fun player to watch from the slot corner position. Who's not gonna like him so much is your guys at PFF, because while he is. Yeah, your guys, your buddies, your besties.
Come on.
Your day ones. And so while he'll give up receptions, the key with K1 is he'll give it up in front of the sticks. So he's still taking teams off the field and forcing them to punt on 4th down. So that's why I say if you look at PFF, he'll give up like a 75% completion percentage, like an 80% completion percentage, but a lot of those are for 2-3 yards, even 5 yards, but in front of the sticks. So you can't really look at all of those stats when it comes to that. And he disguises his blitz. So, like, there's a reason why he's so good at it.
Yep.
There's some players to where they don't have to disguise it, like the defensive end playing safety in Seattle. He doesn't have to disguise it, but he could still get to the quarterback. And that's what you want as your defensive end safety for them.
Yeah.
Catch what I'm saying there? Because he's not a safety.
And he, to your point about disguising, right? Just take a step back to look in coverage and immediately break on the ball. And it's all about timing, because you have to watch the snap count. Then you have to, if you take a wrong step back or too far back, then you're not going to get to the quarterback. So that timing and all that, like, it seems like it's nothing, but to be able to perfect that to the way that he has, bring him back. That's it. Pretty much for me, bring him back.
Yeah, I'm gonna stick on that same narrative, because, like, Dante Johnson wasn't awful.
No,
but there was, when you saw him play against a better slot receiver like Cole Beasley, like I I guess he's pretty good for a slot guy, but Cole
They were saying
Beasley,
he's the best in the league. What do you think
yeah.
about that? The best slot in the league?
Ask Jerry Jones that question. I think he has a different answer.
Yeah, I would say so too. But yeah,
Yeah. But I'm I'm not gonna roll with Dante Johnson as competing for a starting slot corner job. Um, so yeah, my guy Jamar Taylor was pretty decent in
he
that
played really
role,
well.
and I just got to see what his market would look like because he is 30 years old, coming off an ACL. Is someone gonna sign him into the season? That's what I'm assuming. I don't know if a team's gonna bring him in for camp because he's not going to be able to perform. If there's one team that would do it, it would be the 49ers. They did it with Ronald Blair. They do it with their guys, and they have a ton of respect for Jamar. But he's not someone that's going to compete week one for a slot corner job if K1's not there. And I don't want Dante Johnson, even though he played decent, competing for a starting nickel corner job week one. I want K1 Williams back. 100%. 10 out of 10.
Yep, agreed, 100%.
And so we're going to wrap this up with the safety after talking four corners here and a little bit on the fifth one with Jamar, but your guy. This is your guy for real. This isn't a joke. This is your guy for real. Jaquiski Tartt, spelled like whiskey. Do you think the 49ers should bring them back? We saw some Tarvarius Moore in there. It was more of a roller coaster with Tarvarius to where it was like, ooh, see, I told you guys play him. And then it was like, what the hell is he doing? Why is he standing over there when that's not his zone?
Yeah.
So where are you at with Tarvarius?
Well, with Kwaski, man, I think that this fan base is giving him a lot of crap when it comes to his play, and and it's like him and Jimmy Ward like have just been destroyed by this fan base for whatever reason, right? Like I just can't put my finger on it, right? So here's my thing with Tartt. I want Tartt back because that role, I don't know if you remember the Patriots game when Tarvarius Moore was roaming around the box, playing single high, playing tight ends, covering guys. They've never asked Tartt to do that, but they did let Tartt do that in 2017 when he really showed his skills. The problem is with Tartt is basically any problem that we have with almost anybody on this roster, injuries. He hasn't been able to put a full 16 together. But when he's on the field, he's super solid. It's the problem is that fans want interceptions, fans want fumbles, but sometimes stopping plays aren't as big as all those things, right? They're not as big as that. Sometimes it's as simple as a call or a check or something like that, or seeing something in the secondary or getting back to a spot. Those are the things that you guys got to keep in mind when you talk about evaluating players. So I want Jaquiski Tartt back because for the reasons that you outlined. Tarvarius Moore is athletically gifted. We can say that faster than everybody, can go back and can close faster than probably anybody on the team right now at this point. The problem is the mental lapses, not carrying the palms coverage in Arizona, where Sherman carries the route up the field. That's a touchdown. Those aren't things that happen with Tartt. Those things don't happen. The bomb play in I believe it's the Seattle game, right? No. In the Bills game, we talked about Cole Beasley and Dante Johnson. Tarvarius Moore on certain coverages, his responsibility is up top. He's like running to the flat, and it's like, dude, you've been in the system 4 years, and you still have these same we're still talking about the same things with Tarvarius Moore that we were talking about 2 years ago, last year in year 3. The reason that you don't talk about Jaquiski Tartt that way is because those plays don't happen when he's there. The responsibilities are there. He knows exactly what to do. He's super smart. And I think that goes under the wayside too because he's soft-spoken. People don't acknowledge that the guy's knowledge is through the roof, and what he sees on film, he remembers on the field, and he makes checks. And he, in 2017, he was up on the line blitzing. They were using him all types of ways. I just feel like Jaquiski Tartt has been limited in the way that they use him. You would think highly of Jaquiski Tartt if they used him similar to 2017 with this 2019 defense intact. And I'll stick by that, honestly.
Yeah, so I agree that they misuse Tartt as far as getting the best out of him.
Right.
I feel like if you mix him up, let him play some additional high safety, let the dude could fly. The one-handed interception in Carolina was
That's sick.
fantastic.
Sick.
So I think there's more of that in him. He's a safe safety, like the guys at Fourth and Gold like to say, Matt Barr and Javi Vega. But sometimes you need a safe safety. You don't always want, say, someone who's not from a corner position is Marcus Peters. He may get you 12 interceptions, but he'll give you 12 touchdowns as well. Um, I would rather not have 12 touchdowns, personally.
Right.
Although
So
I
like,
do like Marcus Peters a ton. But go ahead, real quick.
no, you're right because that's the thing, right? So you get enamored with the play, right? Like Tarvarius Moore goes back and he makes a play on the ball, and you're like, oh wow. But then he gives up 3 touchdowns, like
Right.
over 3 games. Like, do you understand that those aren't just like, oh, that was a 15-yard game? Those are touchdowns that don't happen when someone else is on the field. This is year 4 for Moore, right? Year 4 or year 3?
Yeah.
It's year 4, dude. It happens in practice as well too. We talk to players and they say the same thing too about that. It happens in practice and it's baffling. They'll tell him, dude, what are you doing? We talked about this. They talk with him throughout the week. So I get the part about reps, but dude, when you're in practice, that's what the reps are. You understand what the coverage is. When they call the coverage, just do your job. Do your job. And if you're not in your playbook and you're running the wrong assignments, you're busting coverages for everybody else, and then PFF gives a touchdown to the cornerback who was lined up over him. Ooh, sorry, I had to get that one in there. Sorry.
Of course you did. I wouldn't put it past you.
Yeah.
You're Jason Aponte for a reason. And so I just like in a world where there was no salary cap, I would say yeah, bring back Jaquiski. But we're not in that world. We're not the 98-99 New York Yankees. I'm just
That's a dig at me.
I'm gonna keep going back to that since you are a Yankee fan.
That's a dig at me. Yeah.
But hey, you know what? I want to see Tarvarius Moore get more action. Yeah, he's consistently out of place even in practice, from what we understand. So maybe getting him some more game reps could change that narrative. I'm not sure it does. You spent a 3rd round pick on him. The guys getting on here is in the draft probably not going to land better talent than Tarvarius Moore. If they do, yeah, start that guy.
Yeah.
For sure, because Moore is consistently out of place. And with free agency, how much is it going to cost to get an upgrade over Moore? Tartt, I think he's just going to price himself out.
What do you think is pricing himself out, though, you think, Leo?
I think something more than $7 million is pricing himself out.
So $7 million is the ceiling?
I think $6 million would be the ceiling.
Okay.
And I think he's going to get more than $6 million.
Do you think he's a top 10 strong safety in the league?
I would say he's on the bubble.
I say he's in. I mean, I'm not going to run down the list, but I say he's in.
Right. Yeah. Off the top of my head, without running down the list, off the top of my head, we've seen some pretty good safeties in this league. Some pretty good strong safeties in this league. I know he's a very safe safety, and he's not going to give up 3 touchdowns in the span of 2 games because he's trying to get turnovers. But if he just holds on to the football a little more, I would say for sure he could be a top 6 safety in this league. I just need a little more turnovers to say, like, if he got, I'm talking about 2 interceptions a year, which he can do. But if he's not going to hold on to it, then I'm not sure. But yeah, he's probably top 10. I'm talking myself into it. He probably is. Since I'm saying if he gives me 2 interceptions, he's top 6. If I'm saying that, that means he's top 10.
And if they use him the right way that they did in 2017, I have no doubt in my mind that you'll see it because he can cover tight ends. They just don't ask him to do it.
Yeah, and remember, Jamal Adams is all pro, but yet he cannot cover. I would like to see Jaquiski blitz some more as well, but I just have that feeling they're not going to do that. with
No,
him.
because it's not well, it depends on who the DC is, but that's just
Exactly.
not how they run it. Yeah.
So if they don't change what they do with Kwaski's role, I see it's just hard to pay him. It would probably be Kwaski and Juszczyk taking a bigger contract to go somewhere else.
That's fair. I mean, I have other guys on our team that I don't think are must signs, but we'll leave that conversation for another day. I would like to see Tartt back here, and I have a feeling
I
that
too, myself too.
Yeah,
I just think he prices himself out.
I don't think he wants that much though. I mean, I'm just purely based off of speculation. I'm not certain that he wants that much. I think that he would welcome coming back with around what he's making now, and if you can live with that, I think that's okay, honestly.
Absolutely. He's making around 6 right now, correct?
Right. Mm-hmm.
Okay, I would absolutely sign him if he gives me 3 years, 6 million. Even if he misses 8 games, that's a steal for a safety because you look at what Jamal Adams does in coverage. He's going to go make 20 in Seattle.
And
so if you could give me what Tartt does in coverage for 6 million, I'm preferring that.
Dude, we could make the argument that Tartt's better than him. We could do a whole show about that. We really could. But
so with Marcel Harris, he's not an unrestricted free agent, so he'll be back. That's why we didn't cover Marcel. We didn't cover Mosley because he'll be back. We're talking strictly guys that are unrestricted free agents, strictly unrestricted. I like how that lined up. But just to wrap this up, what you would like to see starting? Give me two outsides, one nickel. Obviously, the freeze Jimmy, and then the strong safety.
So, Verrett, Spoon, Ward,
What?
Tartt, and K1. I almost want to run it back with almost everybody. I really
You're loyal.
I mean,
You're loyal.
I do because I think that, look, I'm not knocking Emmanuel Mosley because he's going to be here, and obviously the team loves him. For what they've gotten out of Emmanuel Mosley is insane value also.
Right.
He just doesn't give you that upside that Spoon does. Like what Spoon can unlock on the other side with Verrett, you're talking about 2 guys that can cover like that now. Then you're talking about having Ward as the eraser, Mr. Missed 7 tackles over the last 3 years, Jimmy Ward, Jaquiski Tartt, who doesn't make mistakes or anything like that, and then you have Savvy K1. That for me, that feels like a dream scenario with all those guys, provided the money works.
So with Keanu Neal, since that just popped up in the comments, if we're saying that the 49ers don't bring back Tartt because his unavailability on the field, you got to put Keanu Neal in that same category because that guy misses quite a bit of games as well. But what I'm going to go with is Brett, top 10 corner in the league. Gotta bring him back. And I say that more than I'll get to it. Top 10 corner in the league. Gotta bring him back. Emmanuel Mosley, you have an opportunity. He's a restricted free agent. If Witherspoon's not making, or if Witherspoon's not willing to take $2 million, then I'm not bringing him back. That's just my hard ceiling. I don't care what that turns into, even if it's 2.5. I'm just stopping at $2 million with the kilo, and then K1 as my nickel corner, and then I'm gonna go with Jimmy Ward as my free safety. And this is the thing too, Jason, is if they bring back Kwaski, I need to see the same role that they're using Jimmy Ward in right now too. Because this dude is fantastic at it. He looks like the honey badger out there. I need to see him play that more. If you're bringing back Kwaski, I cannot just eliminate that completely from the defensive playbook. He needs to be out there.
That's fair.
And then I'm gonna go, since John Lynch is vocal and Jimmy Garoppolo's contract is still on the books, that money's not freed up yet, I'm going with Tarvarius Moore. If that money gets freed up and Kwaski only wants 6, then give the man $6 million.
Fair. I mean, I can't you can't argue with that. And the 49ers have a good spot that they're in because they can do whatever they want at this point with what they have, and they have a bevy of good of options. So it's not as dire as everybody thinks, honestly. And a little bit more about Jimmy
Mm-hmm.
Ward, man. That game against the Rams, the second one. The play that he strips Jared Goff, right? I want you guys to go back if you have Game Pass and watch the All 22. I want you to watch four guys take their mans and run down the field because it's straight verticals, and watch Jimmy Ward in the center of the screen, almost like a comic book villain, walking just towards the middle of the field. And once he sees Jared Goff try to break off, he closes on that man and perfect technique, puts his arm on one, punches out with the other, and knocks the ball
Yep.
out. Dude, it is so awesome. Things like that, that's the turnovers you want, but plays like that, because they don't end in turnovers, get swept under the rug. He does that on a regular.
Mm-hmm. So, I appreciate everybody tuning in here. I know I told Jason, hey, we're going to go for 30 minutes today, and we're sitting at 56 right now. That's just because Jason loves each and every one of you that's
I
been
do.
here in the comments.
And I love you, Leo.
Love you too, man. Appreciate that. You just be my Valentine. Okay, pause. Pause. But this was fantastic. I know we've been talking a ton of quarterback, especially on the timeline, but talking about something else, it felt good, right? It felt a little refreshing.
See, that's the thing.
Talking some DBs.
That's the thing, right? We can argue about all of these things. It doesn't have to just be quarterback. We can argue about DBs. Come yell at me about the fact that I want Jaquiski Tartt to be on this team again. Whatever. We don't have to argue about the same things. We can yell at each other about plenty of things.
Yeah, and if you come at Jason with that, be ready. Be on your P's and Q's, because that dude's he's gonna come out with you some video clips already saved in there. Look at that.
My bookmark game is heavy.
Yeah, his big mark game is heavy, so be ready. We appreciate all you guys. We might be back tomorrow with Javi on joining us.
Oh.